What was your it done helping others moment? I used to frequently stay late at work for clients who showed up to the veterinary clinic last minute with a non-emergency problem and no appointment. Then 3 times in a row, 3 different people were told up front about the after-hours fee, agreed to pay it instead of scheduling an appointment for the next day, and all of them called back the next day fussing that they shouldn't have been charged extra for keeping us 30 to 60 minutes past our scheduled hours and that we were terrible and trying to scam them by charging for our time, even though we told them up front and they had another option. It was exhausting and demoralizing. We did more than we had to for them after already working a full day because a desire to help is why we're all here in the first place, and they responded by saying our time was worth nothing and we suck. The entire staff said, "Fuck that." Now, unless it's a literal life and death situation, if we can't fit someone in before closing and they didn't have an appointment, it's a firm no. I'm in this profession to help others and I still work late for real emergencies when they happen or if an appointment runs longer than expected, but I'm done sacrificing my personal time for entitled people who don't actually need it. When someone just spat some gum on my hand when I tried to help them up, and to this day screw them. When I dropped my rates significantly to help a struggling family with child care. Blended family needing to find childcare for their emotionally damaged children who had been hospitalized by mom's boyfriend. Both parents worked and my wages were paid through a charity scheme. It was hell. They were utterly useless as people, let alone parents. They took the piss and ended up basically doing nothing with the house or children and ended up owing me nearly $2,000 due to them committing benefit fraud and pocketing what they should have been passing on to me. The final straw was when they asked me to babysit that night as they needed to go out on the lash. It's been stressful, whilst telling me they couldn't afford food, let alone pay me. Never again will I fall for a sob story. The day I realized that no one wanted to help me in return. Look, it's not about doing something for someone to get something back, and I will always help whoever I can that needs it. But when the same people consistently ask for help or money or what have you, without actually wanting to help you when you need it, or just hang out or be friendly in general, it's a huge red flag. I was 16, only had €10 with me. Homeless lady begging for money. I tell her I won't give her money. Went to the local supermarket, bought 2 packs of milk, some bread, some cookies, a bottle of juice and some cooked chicken. Went and gave it to her, with all kindness. 1 hour later I pass by the same street, and everything is on the floor thrown away, not even eaten or open. I used to counsel juvenile delinquents from poor backgrounds. After spending a day of getting cussed out for my efforts, I applied for law school. If I'm going to argue all day, I might as well get paid. I spent 5 years working with the poor, and I think that's the only time I actually helped move anyone out of poverty. Worked in Baton Rouge for a decade, 1999 to 2009, and would regularly give the homeless I saw around town, generously if I can say that without being a douchebag. In 2008 I was on a run for work and a guy caught me near the Target on Segan Lane. He had nothing, he was homeless and on top of it had been robbed an hour ago. No worries, empty my wallet for the man, we all need help. Coming out of the shopping complex I see him hiding in the bushes opening a pack of smokes on a laptop while on his iPhone. Then a month later, saw a man I regularly donated to on Government Street. I would catch him on weekends, but this weekend my drop-off started early so I saw him as he arrived in downtown BR. I sat behind the TV station waiting for a pickup, and this cat gets out of a new car, changes into dirty clothes and grabs his sign from the trunk and heads off to his corner. I have given food and connected people with charities, but I have not given a penny to a beggar since then. I had a live on-site summer job where I became good friends with this hippie couple in their later 20s. When the job and summer ended, I had go back to college and move into my new apartment with 2 roommates, arranged at the end of last semester. The couple needed a place to stay and I let them crash for a couple days. 2 months later I was the asshole that had pissed off my roommates and had to toss the hippies. Too bad. We were really good friends and the overstaying their welcome had really spoiled it. I was in school. No one was paying attention to what I was saying. I just did my work silently, turned it in, and watched as the rest of my table group went up in flames. We have helped out my sister-in-law a few times with money, bills. Never a lot, $50 here, $100 there. Usually for some bill to avoid services being cut off. I'm usually the more heartfelt one in my marriage, but I ended up being the one to put my foot down. Went over to her apartment once. She had 2 big flat-screen TVs, new couch, new fridge, kids on PlayStation or whatever console she got them. It was all rent-a-center stuff, but that was the end for me. I didn't have any of those things myself, not to mention the incredibly bad financial decision those things were with the high interest rate. Part of me felt like I was taking food out of her kids' mouths, but realized that no, her poor decisions was doing that. Me and my GF were leaving a McDonald's and pulling up to the stoplight. There's this homeless old man that we've seen around the area ever since we moved here, and my GF decides, since we've never given anything to this guy and he's always there, we should give him one of our McDoubles. He comes up to the car, says thank you, and walks back to his corner as the light turns green and just tosses it on the road right in front of where we're driving. I am a nice person. I look after people. Colleague is sick. I go out and buy cough medicine or paracetamol for them. Got no food. I'll get you a takeaway. I never expected anything in return, but one day I was asked for money. I did, not a lot. It was like 20 pounds, and they eventually gave it back. Then they asked again, and again, never wanted food, or a train ticket, just money. Then the last time I lent them money, he walked straight into a betting shop and put money on a football game. That was it. He asked me for more money some time later and I said no. Guy literally throws a tantrum. I'd always help you out. I give it back. I thought we were mates. I don't fund gambling addictions. And haven't given him or anyone else help again, just looking after me now. After working free of charge as a freelance graphics guy to build my portfolio up, and having a client basically make the most minor of adjustments, and constant revisions, 4 posters which should have taken me a day tops really, ended up taking 3 months. And when they wanted poster X4, I wanted money, ghosted. Lesson learned. I used to do a lot of volunteer trash cleanups in local forested urban parks. We had plastic grabbers and basic gardening gloves provided, but sometimes you had to kick at or dig around trash that got lodged in rocks or dirt over time. One time, we found an area that turned out to be an abandoned drug den. Needles everywhere, sticking out of cans, covering the ground, broken glass pipes everywhere. It was horrific. One guy got pricked through his glove, and the needles were just poking through our trash bags. The guy got taken to the hospital for testing and the rest of the event was cancelled while the location was reported to the police and parks department. Went home and found different outdoor volunteer work that wouldn't involve exposure to used hypodermic needles. Got involved in trail building and restoration, invasive removal, and water quality testing. The latter 2 also saved me from having to spend any time with ungrateful shits there on court-mandated community service. I did start to clean up trash again after a couple years, but if I see any evidence of past drug use, I stay the hell away. I was 17 and still in school. The corridors were empty as my teacher sent me out to go do her a job. So I was just walking down the corridor when this girl carrying a bunch of books bumped into me and she dropped the books, like you see in a movie, so I apologize because I wasn't really paying attention and I bend down and get the books for her and hand them to her expecting at least a small thanks. But no. Instead this chick had to say, I have a boyfriend so never ever purposely bump into me just so I can talk to you. You should have walked away. As she begins to turn away I grab her shoulder which makes her turn around and I knock the books out of her hand and say, now that was on purpose, and I walked away whilst she was stood there speechless. Some of you may think that was messed up but I don't really regret a single bit of it as she got what she deserved. Happened 6 years ago. I was in 4th grade and I volunteered for the past few months to sweep the classroom while everyone was getting in line to head out for the day. Everything was good until this one day when I was sweeping. Someone knocked my book bag off my chair and the other kids just went around it, stepped over it. Like God, I'm cleaning for you guys and you guys just treat my belongings like it's trash. So after that day I literally stooped volunteering and the teacher made other people do it. Had a friend years ago who was a bit self-centered and prone to stretching the truth, but he was a nice enough guy with a rough backstory and my friend group liked him, so I cut him a lot of slack. I like to host and I have friends staying over pretty regularly. Back then, I usually had 1 or 2 people spending the night on any given day. Anyhow, over the span of a couple of years this guy starts abusing that, staying over for days or even weeks at a time, eating my food and drinking my liquor without contributing, that sort of thing. While constantly talking about his grand plans and daydreams as if they'd already happened. A little sad, but also pretty annoying after a while. Anyhow, I sit him down one day and let him know he's gotta head home, and that he's free to come over and hang out but I'm not comfortable with him staying over for the time being. He leaves, I think it went remarkably well and head out to work. And it turns out that he broke in while I was away at work and stole a bunch of my sister's things because his birthday was coming up and neither of us even thought to get him a gift. It takes a special person to rationalize how burglarizing someone is really their fault. Anyway, all slack and sympathy went out the window immediately. Called the cops and he's dead to me. PTA is a beast that will just suck the life out of you. Every day. I never learn. I crashed my car covering a coworker's shift. They needed help because they couldn't find a sitter and I get guilted into covering all the time. That wasn't the time. My **** moment was a month later, after I finally saved up enough for a new car. It was stolen outside of my work when I was covering a coworker's shift. When I needed help or my shifts covered. Oh sorry I'm busy I can't. That time in Red Dead Redemption where this woman was dying and I searched all over to find an elixir for her and when I gave it to her she was like, "Thank you Jesus. Jesus brought you to me." I wouldn't say I'm done helping others, but I changed the way that I do it. A homeless man asked me if I would buy him something from the store. I did it. Then he tried to trick me into buying more. His scamming strategy was pretty clever and I can see how people fall for it, but I caught on, thankfully. Now I focus on broad community initiatives and, if I do give someone something, it's only in situations where I know I am 100% safe and can leave immediately. Once dated this girl who was down and out in her life. She had just lost her job, she had no money, etc. I started dating her and fell in love with her. She definitely had baggage but that didn't matter, she was beautiful to me and everything I ever wanted. I vowed to help her get back on her feet. I moved her in with me and helped her look for work. Eventually, she got a job at a place that was a 5-minute walk from home, and I felt like everything was working out. About 6 months later, I catch her with one of her coworkers in his car. Never date a fixer-upper, folks. When I had a truck during college, everyone suddenly wanted me to help move them. Most were cool and gave me money or ordered pizza, unprompted by the way. One time however some dude I barely knew needed some help. I show up, and nothing is packed in his apartment. He had a giant fish tank and lived on the 3rd floor with no elevator. It was a fucking nightmare and I never got a dime nor food or even some beers. I never talked to him after that. Not as serious as other answers. Mom yelling at me for not helping. I did all the dishes, made dinner, vacuumed the house, and cleaned the bathrooms all in one day so I didn't have to do it later that week. Somebody put one of those free items sites on Facebook that she needed an outdoor playscape thing for her kids who were going crazy during quarantine. My kids are now older, but we had this cool plastic little Tykes fort that was in great shape. Those things are beasts. It had a slide and a little play area. Perfect for the age her kids were. I drive a pickup so even offered to deliver it. She went full R choosing beggars on me and said she was looking for a more elaborate one with more things to do. Like the giant wooden ones. Good luck lady. I'm done with you all. When my friend said hell no to letting me copy his homework assignment after all the times I let him copy mine. Bitch ass John. This is more specific to the teeny tiny town I used to live in. Used to believe I was valued by the community. Used to actually believe in that community spirit, that soul, if you will. I had seen it and participated in it. When I left my marriage of almost 13 years, there had been about 10 years of domestic violence. I well and truly thought the community would help me out if I needed it and reached out, as I had seen so many other times in the 15 years I had lived there. Nope. Got quite the opposite. Nobody believed me. People who I thought were friends disappeared. People who I thought were friends played the, "it wasn't really that bad was it?" card. People that I thought I could trust to help keep me safe by not tell anyone where I was living went straight to my abuser with that info. Hardly anyone would even speak to me, even just to say hi, when I needed acknowledgement most. Fuck all of those fucks. We were asleep one night with window open. We wake up BC, there is a couple walking down the road arguing. The girl is closer than the guy. Next thing we know the girl is banging on door begging to come in. We call police. They get there and couple gone. They tell us that's a common ruse being used in area to get you to open door so they can rob you. My mother and her new husband had moved into a new place and invited all the kids over for Christmas. In previous years we would buy a whole turkey dinner from somewhere so no one, me, had to cook. So imagine my surprise when my husband and I walk in. My mother walks out of the kitchen, hands me a spoon and says, "Good, you're finally here," and goes to sit down in the living room. After a quick and awkward conversation, it was determined that my job was to make sure everything currently in progress, or not even started, got to the table on time, while everyone else socialized. Basically, I was the help and should have realized that, so any feelings I had about that were my fault. I was a good cook, and my mother taught me everything, not so I owed her. So I did, and not knowing the family dynamics, my new step-siblings were very thankful and appreciative of all my efforts, which caused a meltdown from my mother about how we all should be thanking her. That was the first time I used a phrase that has come in handy for these situations: "I'm so sorry, it will never happen again." And it never did. They weren't happy when they finally realized what that meant. I have neighbors across the road who we extended ourselves to help out because they had young kids and seemed to be struggling. Well, they were really starting to take advantage to the point where we couldn't walk out of our house without them literally yelling for us because they needed a phone, a ladder, money, someone to drive them somewhere, diapers, our Wi-Fi password, our wood, etc., etc. This started happening every day and multiple times a day. It became ridiculous and oppressive. They have since pulled that shit with everyone else on our road, wearing out one generous person after the other. Once you realize people are merely moochers and are content to remain so, that's when you're done. Thanks for watching. See you later.